Welcome to Game Theorem, where we have serious discussions about absurd entertainment.
This is a story of hope that ends in despair. I guess, in a way, you could say that the story has already ended. Chisa Yukizome, the ultimate housekeeper.
I'm Kira.
I'm Kyle.
And we're talking about Danganronpa today.
Yes. So, first of all, we should probably do any trigger warnings.
Mm-hmm. All of it.
Everything.
Everything. Like
murder, violence,
death, despair,
suicide,
sexual assault,
patricide,
rape,
matricide,
yep,
genocide, abuse towards children, every kind of abuse, psychological, physical, and
sexual.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that. This is a very, very dark series. So please watch out if you're young.
Yeah.
Also, I guess language. Too.
Yeah, language.
But this is a series we really wanted to talk about, Danganronpa, because
it's one of our favorite series.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And while it definitely has problems, and we will touch on that, I guess we should explain what Danganronpa is.
Oh, yes.
It started off as a game series, but it spans across media. You can find anime of it, for example. Mm-hmm. And it started off as a game series where you're in class trials, someone has murdered somebody, and you have to figure out who did it. Mm-hmm. And these trials have so many twists and revelations. Basically, when you start the game, no character is really who they say they are.
Yeah.
And the revelations are supposed to be mind-blowing. So because of this, we also have to give you a huge spoiler warning.
Oh yeah, spoilers for the entirety of Danganronpa.
Like the very first sentence will spoil the end of the last game. That's
okay.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I would recommend listening to this if you don't really want to go through it, because Danganronpa is a long series. This is going to be one of those multi-part revisit podcast episodes that we have to do. Yeah,
there are, 3 video games, 2 animes, and
a spin-off game.
A spin-off, a spin-off game, and several novels and stuff that haven't all been translated into English, but yeah.
Exactly, and some of the non-English ones were hard to find, but we tried to incorporate everything into a chronological linear story. So anyone who's a fan of Danganronpa, or anyone who's just curious and wants to have something to listen to, you might want to go back and revisit Danganronpa, because even whether you've heard it or not, you'll see things entirely differently once you know all the plot twists.
Yep.
Like, one of the anime was literally just an anime that was linking all the different narratives together into a chronological story.
Yeah.
But it only did it for part of it. We have done the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you think we should mention?
Not that I can think of.
All right. So this is going to be
Oh, wait. There are a lot of characters.
Oh, yes.
So,
with Japanese names, so, as an American audience, it could get kind of confusing on who's who.
Yes. So everyone has a title usually. So probably sometimes we'll be referring to people by their titles. And
yeah, because one of the things that makes Danganronpa really interesting and unique is most characters have something that they are best at, and that is what they are known for, their skill, their talent. Mm-hmm. So you can use that to try to remember who's who. Mm-hmm. And if you're having any trouble, we actually made an infographic that should help you out. We'll try to upload it with the podcast. Look in the description.
Mm-hmm. That shows all the characters and the links between them.
Yeah. Naturally, the infographic will give you spoilers, because simply knowing about who some of the characters are is a spoiler.
Yeah.
Because, like in the first game, there's a character, for example, that they don't even tell you exists. So if you know that character exists, it's a spoiler.
Yeah. And that's in the first game.
Yep. So naturally, the way we're doing this chronologically, we're going to see this a lot through the evil people's point of view. Mm-hmm. Because the good people are the ones that get the revelations blown in their face. It's the evil ones that did all the masterminding and all the crafting and this carefully laid plans and whatnot.
Planning, so they know exactly what's going to happen way before anyone else does.
Yeah, so we definitely recommend you give the Danganronpa games a chance. But we're going to talk about the story. We're going to put all the revelations in a chronological order so that you can experience them, like we said. And like I said, we are also going to criticize and critique it because there are some times that they do really dumb stuff. But ultimately, it's a series that we find very enthralling despite its really dark events that it chooses to portray. Almost every character has a dark, terrible past.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's do this. You ready, Kira?
All right. Sometime in the early 2000s, a Japanese game development company known as Teen Danganronpa began developing what would eventually be a hit video game series called Danganronpa, which translated as Truth Bullet.
All right, so now we're getting into it. In many millennia before despair, you know how there's like a BC and AD? We're doing before despair, BD, okay? Many millennia before despair. When species of humans first began to spread throughout Earth, they displaced populations of an intelligent reptilian species called reptites. While humans had evolved from apes, reptites had evolved from dinosaurs. The two species competed for resources and to determine which species would dominate the planet. Humans would eventually win the conflict, decimating the population of reptites. A small population of only a few reptites managed to survive in hiding.
Okay, what? What? I don't remember anything referencing this in any of it.
There's
ever.
one character who will later reference this. One character who meets the reptites.
What?
Yes. It's that character's tragic backstory.
Oh my god, it's... Oh, okay, now
this will come up later, much later, like not even this episode later. Okay, you ready to do the next one?
Yeah, now I get it. All right. Hundreds of years before despair, the Saionji clan was a family in Japan that prided themselves on traditional dance. They were well known for this talent, which led to many assassination attempts on the bloodline they cherished.
In 300 BD, the Ogami clan was a family in Japan that owned a dojo that was maintained and passed down through the generations. You know, this is a Japanese story, so a lot of it's going to take place in Japan.
78 BD, Izuru Kamakura dreamt of creating a facility that could cultivate talent in the youth, a place that could host the best of the best, and so he founded Hope's Peak Academy in Japan. As the headmaster, he hired staff to scout the most talented students in the country and enlisted them as designated ultimates.
Right, so the ultimates are what we were talking about, being the best of the best. That I think makes this series really interesting. Gives unique character concepts.
Yeah.
Scouts would go to middle schools and high schools around Japan to find students with ultimate talents. Most students began their time at Hope's Peak at the age of 17, later than most high schools, to give the scouts some leeway when finding students. And this meant many Hope's Peak students had some amount of ordinary high school experience before their talents were appreciated at Hope's Peak.
Classes were numbered sequentially, starting with Class 1, the first graduating class. Classes occasionally included separate subclasses, each usually with 16 ultimate students. At any given time, 3 classes existed in Hope's Peak: first years, second years, and third years. Once ultimates graduated from Hope's Peak, they were guaranteed successful careers.
So this is like even better than Harvard as an American comparison.
Yeah.
When Izuru died, leadership of Hope's Peak was passed onto a council called the Steering Committee, whose leader became the next headmaster.
One notable graduate of Hope's Peak Academy was Torinosuke Ishimaru, the ultimate manager.
The Kirigiri family specialized in being detectives, and they had a strict Kirigiri code that instructed everyone in the Kirigiri family to put diligent detective work and absolute neutrality above emotional entanglements. Fuhito Kirigiri and some renowned master detective partners of his formed an organization called the Detective Library.
Okay, the Detective Library contracted detectives to successfully solve crimes throughout Japan, and they instituted the DSC ranking system for their detectives. Fujita opposed the ranking system but was outvoted. The master detectives that have founded the Detective Library all held the highest ranking, 000. One of them, Mikado Shinsen, chose to leverage his position to make a criminal organization called the Salvation for Victims of Crime Committee.
Eventually, Kazuo Tengen became headmaster of Hope's Peak for some time. Under his leadership, Hope's Peak became world famous for prestigiously talented students there.
Toranosuke used his ultimate talent as a manager to rise through the ranks of his company until he eventually owned it, all without much effort. He became so successful that he ran for office and was elected Prime Minister of Japan. He received popular support until his arrogance led his many deals, corruptions, and scandals to be found by the press. He was forced out of office and his company collapsed. The Ishimaru family became shamed out of any major professions in Japan.
So what do you think about that?
That's terrible.
Yep.
Okay.
He's the earliest Ultimate that we know about.
Ah, I see.
Hope's Peak Elementary was constructed in Towa City as a loosely affiliated opportunity for younger children. Students that attended Hope's Peak Elementary weren't guaranteed to one day enroll in Hope's Peak Academy, but they were far more likely to do so. The top students of each subject earned the title of Little Ultimates, and many scouts for Hope's Peak Academy took an interest in Hope's Peak Elementary.
I didn't know that that's how Hope's Peak Elementary started.
It's not even a guarantee.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you have a better chance here than any other school. Which sucks because it's like only the students of Towa City in this age range have a better chance than most other people.
We'll move. I know, sorry.
Fujita tried to raise his son, Jin Kirigiri, to be a detective as well, but Jin didn't want to be a detective. Eventually, Fujita kicked Jin out of the Kirigiri family for his disobedience, and Jin made his own career in life.
So he's not going to be a detective.
Yep.
The Togami Corporation was a wealthy corporation owned by the Togami family, and was currently owned by Kijo Togami. According to the Togami tradition, Kijo, as the head of the Togami Corporation, sired many different children with women around the world. The children then competed amongst each other to prove themselves worthy of inheriting the entire Togami Corporation.
What the hell?
Yep, it's survival of the fittest within one's own family.
That is... what?
Also, I'm pretty sure the entire thing was just justification for him to sleep with many women.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very misogynistic, but on even one of the female heirs could still win. So that's something. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so awful.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, never mind. We'll talk about him when he comes up.
When the character is born?
Yeah.
Okay. So next.
30 BD, April 10th. Daisaku Bandai was born.
27 BD, May 8th, a boy who would one day be known as the Great Gozu was born.
22 BD, April 14th. Juzo Sakakura was born.
22 BD, May 5th, Chisa Yukizome was born.
22 BD, July 25th, Yasuhiro Hagakure was born.
22 BD, August 22nd, Kyosuke Munakata was born.
20 BD, June 8th, Saiko Kimura was born.
20 BD, November 20th, Rurika Ando was born.
19 BD, February 20th, Sonosuke Izuyo was born.
These are characters that will later become relevant. They'll become main characters, participants in some of the games. Mm-hmm. So if these names don't mean anything to you, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But they
will mention them again later. They're going to come up again.
Exactly. In 19 BD, April 24th, Mahiro Koizumi was born.
19 BD, April 28th, Nagito Kameda just so happened to be born into a wealthy family on a date considered extremely lucky by Japanese standards, and his life oscillated between moments of great fortune and great misfortune.
19 BD, May 12th, Mikon Sumiki was born.
19 BD, June 29th, Kazuichi Soda was born.
19 BD, June 30th, when Peko Pekoyama was born, her parents abandoned her, but she was adopted into the criminal Kuzuryu Yakuza clan. That's like the Japanese mafia.
Yep. 19 BD, July 15th, Akane Owari was born into extreme poverty where death was rampant.
In 19 BD, August 16th, Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu was born as the eldest son of the leaders of the Kuzuryu Yakuza clan, making him the heir. His clan thought he seemed sickly and weak, which made them worry, so they assigned Peko to be his permanent bodyguard for life, and they raised Fuyuhiko and Peko together with that in mind.
19 BD, August 30th, Ryota Miturai was born.
19 BD, September 2nd, Teruteru Hanamura was born in the rural countryside.
19 BD, October 13th, Princess Sonia Nevermind was born across the world in the Kingdom of Nova Selic in Europe.
19 BD, November 27th, Ibuki Miyoda was born.
19 BD, December 14th, Gundam Tanaka was born. His mother was a terrible cook, but he ate her food to make her happy. Her food led him to believe his body was eternally poisoned, which led to him researching dark arts.
Yes.
Okay. I did not know that was his backstory.
Yeah, blame the occult on your mother. Nice. In 18 BD, February 22nd, Nekomaru Nidai was born with a heart defect that confined him to the hospital. His parents were told by the doctor that he would only live about 20 years at the most.
18 BD, March 9th, Hiyoko Saionji was born as the heiress to the Saionji clan.
Remember the clan that loved traditional dance?
Yeah.
Yeah. 18 BD, March 14th, Chiaki Nanami was born.
18 BD, April 24th, Aoi Asahina was born.
18 BD, May 5th, Byakuya Tagami was born as the youngest of 15 half-siblings, and thus was put at a disadvantage compared to his oldest brothers and sisters. Because he was going to have to compete for the Tagami Corporation.
Oh, yeah.
As the youngest child.
A man named Fukawa juggled relationships with two different women at the same time, and both women became pregnant.
In 18 BD, June 9th, Mondo Owada was born.
18 BD, July 7th, Sayaka Maizono was born, but her mother died before she ever got to know her.
18 BD, August 31st, Kiyotaka Ishimaru was born as the son of Takaki Ishimaru, who was the son of Toranosuke Ishimaru. Because of Toranosuke's disgraceful performance as prime minister, the only job that Takaki could find that would hire him was as a police officer, and he took the job to pay off the huge debts incurred to the Ishimaru family and to take care of his son, Kiyotaka. So that was the ultimate manager, prime minister guy that was a disgrace.
Yeah.
His family.
Yep. 18 BD, September 13th, Sakura Ogami was born as the only daughter of the current Ogami generation of children.
So the rest of them were boys. 18 BD, October 6th, Kyoko Kirigiri was born. When her grandfather, Fuhito, discovered that his son, Jin, had a daughter, Fuhito welcomed Jin and Kyoko back into the Kirigiri family. Fuhito raised Kyoko to be a detective, and her mother allowed him to do so since she seemed to be okay with being a detective. So even though Jin didn't want to be like his father, Jin's daughter wanted to be like her grandfather.
By the way, so does that mean that Sakura had a bunch of brothers?
Brothers or male cousins.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Because she was the only daughter of the Ogami clan.
All right. 18 BD, November 23rd, Taiko Yasuhiro was born.
18 BD, December 24th, two Japanese twin sisters named Junko and Makuro were born in a war zone in the Middle East. Their parents were homeless and struggled to provide for them.
18 BD, December 31st, Hifumi Yamada was born.
18 BD, January 3rd, Leon Kuwata was born. His uncle was the director of TAT Television, the largest television multi-corporation in the world.
17 BD, February 5th, Makoto Naegi was born into a normal Japanese family.
17 BD, March 3rd. Fukawa's two girlfriends gave birth on the same day to two different babies. When they found they had been impregnated by the same man, both of them regretted having his child. However, there was a mix-up and one of the babies died due to a medical accident. Both mothers hoped it had been their baby who died so that they didn't have to be full-time mothers to Fukawa's child. Instead of DNA testing, they made a deal to share the baby so that they could both just be part-time mothers. They named her Toko Fukawa.
Oh my god.
That's like such a toxic relationship.
Yep. Why didn't they just get DNA testing?
Also, so she has two mothers, which would be like, oh yay, you know, lesbian representation. But she had a father. He was just a deadbeat dad.
Yep. 17 BD, March 14th. Chihiro Fujisaki was born as the child of Taichi Fujisaki and was assigned the male gender.
Mikuro became fascinated in the military factions fighting the Middle East. But Junko, her sister, felt complete despair in the situation and verbally abused Mikuro. Their parents eventually managed to get them out of there and go back to Japan, but Junko was never the same and longed to feel that level of despair once more. Remember these two. These two are very important.
Yeah. Yasuhiro's father burned their house down when he fell asleep while smoking. They eventually got a new house, but Yasuhiro's mother, Hiroko Hagakure, had an affair and cheated on her husband often, which eventually led to a divorce. After the divorce, Hiroko raised Yasuhiro by herself, and she loved him very much.
Yeah, Hiroko's kind of problematic in the decisions she makes, but she always cares for her son no matter what. Mm-hmm. So she seems like a good person. I question some of her life choices.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe Yasuhiro's father was a jerk. Maybe that's why she cheated on him.
Mm-hmm.
16 BD, March 27th. Natsumi Kuzuryo was born as the younger sister of Fuyuhiko in the Kuzuryo Yakuza clan. She became a young and active member of the clan, leading to a schism in the clan where some members thought she should be the heiress instead of Fuyuhiko.
Oh, yeah.
So who's going to be the next Yakuza clan leader? You know, that tale as old as time.
You know, it's weird how, like, some of these, they were all mixed up in how they were born, but some of them got sorted into one class and some of them got sorted into the other. Because
what are you talking about, class? Oh, like school classes?
Yeah, because some of them are younger, but they're still in the...
Oh, no. See, the way it works is, you know, that we've been going chronologically. The first half or so are going to be in an earlier year than the other half. Japanese school systems go from April to March.
No, but... Oh, I see what you mean. So even if they were born the next year,
right,
they would still end up in that year of school.
So...
Yeah.
So from 19 BD in April all the way to 18 BD in March, those are going to be in one class. And then everyone from 18 BD in April all the way to 17 BD in March, those are going to be in the next class.
All right.
Anyway, so we just did Natsumi. She's a few years younger than Fuyuhiko.
Mm-hmm. All right. Kuzuryo's parents often got into violent fights regarding which of their children should lead their clan. In these battles, Pekka shielded and protected Fuyuhiko and Natsumi.
Yeah, so even though the clan was arguing about who should win, Fuyuhiko and Natsumi still were siblings and loved each other.
Mm-hmm.
16 BD, May 31st. Komaru Naegi was born as Makoto's younger sister.
Akane survived by stealing food whenever she could, leading to her emotional connection to food. She became athletic by fighting off other poor people trying to steal the same food.
She was the one born into poverty.
Yep.
In 13 BD, September 4th, Yuta Asahina was born as Aoi's younger brother.
12 BD, April. When Fuyuhiko and Pekka were in their second grade class, they were kidnapped. They escaped their kidnapper together thanks to Pekka's skill with the sword. Pekka viewed herself as a tool to protect Fuyuhiko, but he thought much more of her.
He began to get a crush on her. During a break from his elementary school, Nagito and his family vacationed in the Galapagos Islands. Unfortunately, on the airplane trip back to Japan, a terrorist hijacked the airplane. Luckily, a meteor crashed into the airplane and killed the hijacker, along with Nagito's parents, unfortunately. Nagito survived the crash and inherited his parents' immense fortune.
Yep.
This is the guy that's very lucky and unlucky. So you could see how that has taken an effect already in his young life.
Hiyoko was taken away from her progressive parents by her traditional grandmother to ensure she learned the ways of the Saionji clan. She was harshly trained to be a traditional dancer, and she began to see herself as a noble over everyone else.
And she became very arrogant. Ibuki accidentally rowed an illegal fishing boat and nearly arrived at another country. Also around this time, she tried shaking a coconut tree and was hit with 3 coconuts on the head, nearly killing her.
When was this mentioned?
In her past. Each character has their tragic backstory. It's just Ibuki's like, I got coconuts.
When Kazuichi was in elementary school, his parents owned a shop that sold bicycles. No one ever bought any bicycles, but they often went to the store for the family's repairing and mechanical skills. Once Kazuichi invented a machine for drawing chalk on grass that caused a lot of mayhem at his school.
So Kazuichi's starting to learn to be like a mechanic kind of guy. Mikon was physically, emotionally, and sexually abused by her family and those around her. They took advantage of her timid nature to make her do terrible, harmful, and demeaning things to herself. She learned to treat her own wounds afterwards.
Yeah, that was awful. That was like one of the worst backstories out of all of them.
Yeah. Oh, we got worse coming.
Oh.
Ryota's parents... Sorry. Oh, it's your turn.
Yeah. Ryota's parents neglected him, and he was bullied a lot at school. He found peace only while watching anime, and that drove him to learn to animate so that he could give others that same feeling.
While Sonia was in elementary school in the Kingdom of Novoselic, she took the customary courses on engaging and surviving modern warfare.
What?
That was curriculum in her school.
Wow. Alright, Teruteru helped his family by cooking in the family diner when his mother's age began to show.
When Kyoko was 7 years old, this is the detective girl, she was traveling around the world with her grandfather Fujito, learning the methods of being a detective. Her mother became extremely ill, and her father Jin wanted Kyoko to come home to see her mother. Fujito refused, and Kyoko's mother died without having a single visit from her daughter. Jin was so upset that he left the Kirigiri family forever. Fujito lied to Kyoko, telling him Jin had selfishly chosen emotions over being a true detective, and he kept raising Kyoko.
Yeah.
He's a jerk.
Yeah.
Kyoko's grandfather is a jerk.
Yeah, he is a total jerk. Kazuo retired as headmaster, and Jin Kirigiri became the next headmaster of Hope's Peak Academy. Kazuo remained in the steering committee and often advised Jin. This is Kazuo Tengen?
Yeah, he used to be the headmaster, but now Jin, Kyoko's father, is.
Yeah, alright.
In 10 BD, and sometime in March, Class 66 of Hope's Peak graduated. One notable graduate was Daisuke Bandai, the ultimate farmer.
Junko's only childhood friend was Yasuke Matsuda. Junko began to become quite analytical of her surroundings and was capable of building a sand sculpture with Yasuke that mimicked a chapel. One day Yasuke found it had been destroyed and was distraught, but Junko admitted to him that she was the one who destroyed it.
So we talked about how Junko came to love despair from her war-torn younger years, right? Mm-hmm. So now we're seeing how that's shaping her development.
Yep.
Makoto and Kamaru lived ordinary lives. They had a dog, watched talk shows, and enjoyed manga together. Kamaru, however, claimed to occasionally see ghosts.
Taiko loathed her ordinary life, however, and she dreamt of one day living in a European castle. She began to gamble excessively and found that she was very good at it, turning a profit. She used the money to dress in Victorian clothing. She also changed her name to Celestia Ludenberg and changed her cat's name to Grand Boy Sherry Ludenberg.
So she did not like her poor lifestyle. She wanted to be rich. Mm-hmm. Chihiro had a small frame and feminine appearance, and he was bullied at school for not looking manly enough. So Chihiro chose to present herself as a girl, thinking she'd fit being a girl better than a boy. Her father didn't support her decision and still referred to her as his son, but he also didn't interfere with her decision.
Toko's mother...
Transgender representation, right?
Yeah, somewhat.
I mean...
It's complicated.
They don't portray it in the series as well as they should, but still, we'll take what we can get, right?
Yeah. Toko's mothers mistreated and abused her, mentally and physically. She turned to novels as a source of comfort to distract her from her life. One day, her mothers locked her in a closet for punishment for 3 days without food. Toko was so traumatized that her personality splintered. The first was her normal self, who was now terrified of the dark, but the other grew more sinister and protective of her other personality.
Toko was bullied often in elementary school, even being literally tied up or blamed for theft. One day, she realized she had fallen in love with a boy when he was about to move to another school. She wrote a letter to him confessing her love, but he pinned it to the school bulletin board to publicly mock her. Her other personality followed him when he moved and killed the boy in revenge for Toko.
Mm-hmm. Toko's teacher read the letter aloud in class, further mocking Toko, but then she realized that Toko had great writing talent and encouraged her to explore that. Toko took her advice and began writing novels of her own. Toko also didn't bathe often as she didn't see the point. One day, a stink bug approached her and Toko made it her pet, naming it Kamiko. She believed Kamiko could understand her feelings.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
She just wanted friends. Even her life's purpose of becoming a writer was only given to her by a teacher that was mocking her.
Yeah.
So Yasuke's mother died. He grieved in despair, but Junko supported him through it. Makuro, meanwhile, won a survival game tournament in elementary school and began writing for military magazines.
Okay.
So the sisters are turning out very different from their time in the Middle East.
Yep. Tokuichi Towa was the head of the tech multi-corporation called the Towa Group, located in Towa City, and his son, Haiji Towa, was being prepared to one day inherit the company. However, Tokuichi had an affair, and his mistress became pregnant.
9 BD, April 1st, when the mistress gave birth to Monika Towa, she abandoned her child, leaving Monika to be raised by Tokuichi in Towa City.
9 BD, May 7th, Masaru Diamond was born in Towa City, but his father was abusive and an alcoholic.
9 BD, June 13th, Kodako Utsugi was born in Towa City, and her father was a dentist, while her mother was an actor.
9 BD, October 23rd, Nagisa Shingetsu was born in Towa City, and his father was a teacher at Hope Peak Elementary. His parents had high expectations of him.
In 8 BD, February 29th, Jotaro Kamuri was born in Towa City, but his mother resented that she lost her career when she gave birth to him.
7 BD, March. Class 69 of Hope's Peak graduated. One notable graduate was Great Gozu, the Ultimate Wrestler.
By the way, I just wanted to mention something about Jotaro's mother losing her career. Mm-hmm. With proper health care forced in corporations, that wouldn't have been an issue, but she had to lose her job to give birth to him.
Wow.
Just saying. So,
which is weird because they're in Japan. Doesn't Japan have... Because, like, every other country has it except us, right?
Well, this would have been the equivalent of the 90s.
Okay, so it might not have been a thing yet.
Maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Even, I guess...
It's possible that she chose to quit to raise him because she didn't have anyone else to raise him.
Yeah, she could have lost it for some other reason.
Yeah.
6BD, April. Junko and Yasuke had grown close since his mother died, to the point that Junko had fallen in love with Yasuke. But she couldn't help but revel in his despair. She began to fantasize about making the world understand the despair she felt. She included her sister in these fantasies, calling the two of them the Despair Sisters.
Mm-hmm. Is that where she gets the name that she starts? Yeah, all right. 6BD, April. Just before Junko and Makura enrolled in middle school, their parents were able to afford to take the family on a vacation in Europe. While in Europe, Makura was recruited into an elite mercenary group known as Fenrir and eagerly returned to the Middle East for training and combat. Their parents thought she had been kidnapped, and Junko became estranged by them.
Yeah, so they didn't care about Junko after Makura was kidnapped, and that made Junko feel very alone.
Yep.
And Junko was already into despair, so this definitely does not help things.
Mm-hmm.
Junko's analytical prowess developed greatly, and she came to a realization that life would be easier for her if she could have her own wealth and notoriety. Her analytical prowess was so great that she was able to methodically replicate and imitate fashion celebrities and even make her own style. But she soon began to find even a successful life was extremely boring when she was able to predict every outcome thanks to her analytical abilities. So now she loves despair and she's bored. And rich.
Chihiro didn't have any friends, and so she spent most of her time on computers. She took after her father and became a programmer like him. She became notorious for her expert programming, and she even began developing artificial intelligence programs for the Towa group.
So Chihiro made artificial intelligence for Towa.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be important. Saiko Kimura was a young girl who had to take many medicines. She befriended Ruroka Ando, who was friends with Sanosuke Izuyoi, and all three of them shared the same class throughout their schooling. Ruroka liked making sweet pastries and was offended that Saiko wouldn't eat them. However, Saiko couldn't eat them because the sugar would kill her, so Saiko tried to make it up to Ruroka in other ways constantly. The Towa family resented Monika's existence, considering her a blemish on their company, even though it was Tokuichi who cheated. It wasn't her fault. The Towa family abused her and beat her often, and Monika realized that they would stop beating her if she exaggerated her injuries. Eventually, she claimed she couldn't walk anymore and began using a wheelchair, which was enough to make her family stop abusing her out of pity.
Yeah.
Again, so many of these characters turn out so bad, but then when you hear about their tragic backstory, like, you could really empathize with them and see how they became that.
Yeah.
It doesn't justify it, but you could see it.
I thought she was, did that actually happen to her? Because for some reason I thought she made it up.
No.
She just made up the part about the wheelchair?
Yeah, she was lying about being handicapped. Mm-hmm. She wasn't. Or disabled. Sorry, I'm not. What's the proper word?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah. Monika was very intelligent, and she learned robotics in her free time. She was able to develop technology superior to anything the Towa group developed. Tokuichi made her the head of the robotics branch so they could profit off of her inventions, but this made her family resent her even more, specifically her brother, who resented her becoming so important to the company because he was supposed to take it over.
Yeah, I mean, but she's a child genius, smarter than the rest of them combined.
Mm-hmm.
During his time in middle school, Yasuhiro picked up fortune-telling to make money. Eventually, he was able to correctly predict clients' futures, 30% of the time. However, he attempted to fake having flawless prediction rates and performed many scams, and he spent the money on incredibly expensive things, such as a crystal ball that cost 100 million yen. His endeavors resulted in him failing his classes and having to repeat grades 4 times.
Oh, really?
Yes, he's the oldest student.
During her time in middle school, Akani's parents were frequently replaced as they bickered, split up, and found new spouses. Each time her parental situation changed, she was given more siblings, half-siblings, or step-siblings. As the eldest, she took care of them with part-time jobs.
So she rarely had good parents. She had to kind of fill in. Mm-hmm. And took care of her many siblings.
Yep.
During his time in middle school, Kazuichi, the mechanic guy, was often bullied. His best friend cheated off of his test, and when they were caught, his friend blamed Kazuichi, giving him trust issues. His father also beat him sometimes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you can't have a tragic backstory without physical abuse.
Yeah.
No, you can, but it appears a lot.
Yeah. During her time in middle school, Mahiro learned to be a photographer like her mother and befriended a fellow classmate named Sato. Natsumi attended the same school. She and Mahiro got into a heated argument, and Sato defended Mahiro. Later that night, Natsumi used her position in the Kuzurio clan to send someone to attack Sato. Sato's arm was sliced and scarred, but she lived. Oh, really? I didn't know that happened when they were in middle school.
Oh, yeah. Natsumi was not afraid to use her privilege.
Yeah.
During his time in middle school, Nagito was kidnapped by a serial killer, unfortunately, stuffed into a garbage bag, and held for ransom. When Nagito informed the kidnapper that his family was all dead, the kidnapper let him go. Luckily, Nagito found a lottery ticket in that bag that ended up winning him 3 million yen.
On top of his parents' fortune.
Exactly.
So Nagito's basically set for life.
Super lucky.
Mm-hmm. Nagito felt much despair at being tugged between his good and bad luck throughout his life, and he began to idolize the concept of hope itself. He began to wish for death, but hoped that someone more deserving could utilize his luck to their own advantage. In his search for that someone, he began to idolize Hope's Peak Academy.
Because Hope's Peak had such a reputation for having the best of the best, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Nekomaru met a boy named Daisuke in the hospital who suffered from the same kind of heart defect that ailed Nekomaru. And Daisuke was the team manager of a local baseball team. Both the team and Daisuke himself were proud that he could still contribute to the team, even from the hospital bed. Unfortunately, Daisuke died before the team won. But this inspired Nekomaru to become a team manager himself.
Mm-hmm. During his time in middle school, Yasuke became an expert physician and neurologist. He also had skills in neurosurgery and neuroscience in his pursuit to fully understanding the human brain.
That's Junko's boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Makoto and Sayaka attended the same middle school, 6 Black Root Middle School, although they barely knew each other. Sayaka was lonely, so she spent most of her time watching singing idol groups on TV. Sayaka first met Makoto when she saw him nursing an injured crane at school, but she never spoke to him.
During his time in middle school, Hifumi discovered the anime Demon Angel Pretty Pudgy Princess and fell in love with the main character, Princess Pickles. He bought much of the merchandise for the anime and began drawing and writing fanfiction about Princess Pickles, taking after his older sister, Fujiko Yamada, who was an erotic manga artist.
During his time in middle school, Mondo joined a biker gang called the Crazy Diamonds, led by his older brother, Daiya Owada. Mondo rose through the ranks, and he and Daiya made the gang notorious in Japan. Mondo was racing Daiya in a ritual to win the right to lead the gang, but Mondo drove recklessly and was nearly killed. When Mondo accidentally pulled into oncoming traffic, Daiya took the hit for him and died in his place. Daiya's last wish was for Mondo to lead the gang.
When Toko was in 8th grade in middle school, a boy asked Toko out on a date. She planned the date for 3 weeks before deciding to just go see a movie together. However, the boy left partway through the movie, and Toko found out that the boy only asked her out because he had lost a bet.
Toko has such a tragic life.
Yeah.
In just like the smallest ways.
Yeah.
Which, what happens next? Toko's other personality began a habit of killing boys that Toko liked. The personalities didn't share memories, but they shared emotions. If the other personality found out a boy wronged Toko, she would hunt him down and kill him. Toko's other personality became notorious in the news as a serial killer, and people on the internet began calling her Genocide Jack. Toko, meanwhile, continued her literary career writing novels.
When Kyoko was in the 8th grade in her middle school, she befriended an older girl named Yui Samadare, who was currently attending high school. Yui was scouted to enroll in Hope's Peak Academy as the ultimate jumper, but Yui wanted to instead be a detective and declined. Kyoko and Yui's shared interest in detective work led to them becoming partners. Kyoko's DSC ranking was 919, but Yui's DSC ranking was higher at 887.
Kyoko and Yui solved many cases together, especially homicides. They discovered the Salvation for Victims of Crime Committee and became wrapped up in their endeavors. The committee hosted an event called Duel Noir annually, where they captured famous detectives, murderers, and victims and hosted killing games. They claimed they were opportunities for victims to get their revenge, but the committee sold live footage of the killing games to the elite, wealthy, and powerful.
Wow, I did not know about this.
Kyoko was among the first to be in a killing game.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Kyoko managed...
She was 13, by the way.
Oh, wow.
13.
Kyoko managed to survive the duel noir and the committee, but not without cost. Yui didn't make it, and Kyoko's hands were severely burned, forcing her to wear gloves to cover them. Oh, really? That's how she burned her hands?
Yes.
And Yui didn't make it?
Yeah, her best friend. This was from the Danganronpa Kirigiri novel, and Yui was the main character.
How did Yui die?
It's not clear, because that novel's actually still going.
Oh,
We just know the end result. And 4BD in April, Akane enrolled in Hikaramichi High School, but she began taking more dangerous jobs. The adult men in her household awfully sexually assaulted her, and she chose to make extra money with her body by performing odd illicit jobs with her body.
Yeah, that was weird.
And by the way, these girls are just underage.
Yeah, all of them. 4BD April. Fuyuhiko and Peko were told by the Kuzuryo Yakuza clan to downplay their relationship, and so they entered separate schools. Fuyuhiko enrolled in Suzaran High School, while Peko enrolled in Shirainui High School.
Also in 4BD April, Gundam enrolled in Fazal Commerce High School. His interest in the occult resulted in Gundam acquiring few friends, and so he began becoming very skilled at raising animals, even saying a few endangered species.
Also in 4BD April, Hiyoko enrolled in Golden Light Girls Institute. She didn't have many friends because of her mean attitude, but she had many male fans of her traditional dancing.
Also that April, Ibuki enrolled in Shiba Academy and their music club, where they formed a band called Black Cherry. Their best song was After School Poyoyon Hour, and their nemesis was a boy band called Summer Tree.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, she became a musician.
Also in 4BD April, Kazuichi enrolled in Toshima Industry High School. He revamped his appearance to be more intimidating to his peers to prevent them from bullying him.
Also that April, Mikan enrolled in Lapis Lazuli's Girls' High School, and she became a great nurse because the times when she nursed others were the only times she felt she had control in her own life and over others' lives.
Yeah. Also in 4BD April, Nagito enrolled in Spiral High School, but around the same time he was unfortunately diagnosed with both lymphoma and frontotemporal dementia. He was told by doctors that someone in his condition would live less than a year.
Yep, so unlucky he has these terrible cancers, but he's also lucky, so let's see if he makes it. Also dementia? That might explain some of the crazy stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
Also in that April, Nekomaru enrolled in First Yokoyama High School, but he went on to promote many athletes into national recognition, including baseball teams, rugby teams, and figure skaters. He ventured into forests for physical training to keep up his health, and one time he encountered Sakura, fought her, and lost. He also became known for advocating for health by loud, verbose pooping.
Also that April, Sonia moved to Japan and enrolled in in Utero High School as an exchange student because she wanted to learn more about Japanese customs, and as a serial killer fanatic, learn about some of the murders there. She also began to live a more reserved romantic life to represent her home country as people expected a princess to do.
This means she had previously not lived a reserved romantic life.
So she dated people when she was a teenager.
Yeah. So that same April, Teruteru enrolled in Kochi Prefectural Harajuku High School, and he became an expert cook at his family diner. Unfortunately, his mother became ill and unable to keep the diner going without him.
Also that April, Yasuhiro briefly met Makoto before enrolling in Kiwatetsu Commerce High School. Yasuhiro was in severe debt from his recklessness with scams and money. Yasuhiro contacted a Yakuza clan and spoke with Natsumi. He scammed her out of millions of yen by offering to sell Makoto's organs to the Yakuza. Did he really do that?
Yes, he did.
Oh my god.
And he had only met Makoto once.
Wow.
And he's like, you know what? You look like you have some nice organs.
Oh my god, what the hell?
He didn't actually do it. He just scammed.
Yeah.
When Leon was in 9th grade in his last year of middle school, his cousin Kanon Nakajima was in 7th grade in the same school. She had fallen in love with him, dressed up for him, and repeatedly confessed her love to him, but he wasn't interested. Leon was a skilled baseball player, and so Kanon convinced him to make her the manager of his baseball team.
Sakura spent every day training martial arts in her family dojo. When she was in 9th grade, in her last year of middle school, she defeated her father for the first time and never lost to him again.
When Yasuhiro failed to deliver Makoto's organs as promised, the Kuzuryu Yakuza clan began to hunt Yasuhiro down in revenge, and so Yasuhiro went into hiding to survive.
Wow. The steering
Also, this means Natsumi was okay with taking his organs.
Yeah. The steering committee wished to use the students in Hope's Peak to perform experiments to investigate how talent worked and how it could be utilized or transferred. So they created a building adjacent to Hope's Peak Academy where the reserve course would be held. The reserve course allowed students without ultimate talents to join Hope's Peak by paying enormous tuition fees. The money was largely used in talent experiments by the steering committee.
In 3 BD, April, Class 76 of Hope's Peak began their first year. Some notable students included Saiko Kimura, the ultimate pharmacist, Rurika Ando, the ultimate confectioner, Sanosuke Izuyoi, the ultimate blacksmith, Maya Gekogahara, the ultimate therapist, and Ted Chikatilo, the ultimate pyrotechnician.
Why was he notable? I never heard about him.
He appears like once in the story.
Oh, okay. Also that April, by the time Junko enrolled in Gunma Prefectural Shimbutani High School under the name of Junko Inishima, she already had a modeling career and was a celebrity throughout Japan for her extravagant tastes in fashion. Her fans loved her because they felt she was authentic, when her image was actually meticulously crafted.
I feel like that could be like a metaphor for fashion in general.
Yeah, like she was the ultimate fashion diva, but only because she was so analytical that she could
do what
make
people
up,
liked.
Yeah, and make that up.
Also in that April, Makuro, now called Makuro Ikusawa, concluded her time with Fenrir and returned to Japan to be with her sister. Junko found it fun to occasionally put Makuro's life in danger because she knew Makuro was skilled enough to survive nearly anything unfazed.
And also because even if she did succeed, the despair of losing her sister was something that she was into.
Right, but she didn't have to worry about Makuro actually dying because Makuro was so skilled at not dying.
Yep. All right. Also that April, Makoto enrolled in Dusk High School, but Sayaka enrolled in Blackroot High School and fought to achieve her dream of being an idol. Through a mixture of her near-psychic intuition and awful underhanded tactics, she was scouted to form an idol group that consisted of Sayaka, Satomi Aoba, Ayaka Hanayama, and 2 other girls. They became extremely famous, and their most popular songs were Naga Go To Ensemble, Monochrome Answer, and Sky Blue Canvas.
Also that April, Byakuya had spent his entire life creating successful companies to amass his own wealth. And he did this before, while, and after enrolling in the exclusive Green Hills High School. His father, Kijo, was impressed and decided that, for the first time, the youngest child, Byakuya in this case, had won the right to inherit the Togami Corporation. Byakuya's only friend was his butler, Aloysius Pennyworth.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't he British?
Something like that.
Yeah. All right. Also that April, Chihiro enrolled in St. Albandia Academy and continued developing and programming artificial intelligence.
That same April, Hifumi enrolled in Marufuji High School and began selling his fan fiction of Princess Piggles by the thousands at various conventions and online on his website. The authors of Princess Piggles never accused Hifumi of violating copyright. For some reason.
You only put that in there because...
like, that's not legal.
Well, apparently...
I mean, like...
I think in Japan they have a whole market for fan fiction manga and stuff.
I think it's like with video game playthroughs on the internet. Some companies are just more lenient about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right. Also that April, Kiyotaka enrolled in Kaisuden High School, and he learned from the past of his family and the Ishimaru legacy. He wished to do better than his family had done, and so he spent much of his time in the morals committee of his middle school, and became a staunch supporter of rules and ethics.
That same April, Leon enrolled in LL Academy, and by this time, Canon had confessed her love to him 3,909 times in total. Although seeing Leon dating new girls every other day hurt her. He even changed his appearance to what he thought a musician would wear to impress a girl at a salon.
Wow. Also that April, Mondo enrolled in First Volcano High School, but he still felt immense guilt at causing his brother's death. He hid his guilt, wanting to instead look manly to his peers.
Sakura enrolled in Shiranui High School, where she briefly met Peko, one of her upperclassmen. Sakura wanted to be the strongest human alive, and so she sought out a man who was known for holding that title, named Kenshiro. He trained her so that she could one day surpass him, and they began a romantic relationship. Soon after, however, Kenshiro was diagnosed with a terminal illness and spent most of his time being treated in a hospital.
Also that April, Toko enrolled in Riverbank Girls High School, and her novel, So Lingers the Ocean, was a bestseller. Genocide Jack had also increased in notoriety.
So that's all we have time for today with Danganronpa.
Yes, because the story is massive and takes forever.
Yeah, so we got close. We got to about 3 years before the Despair event. So that, you know what that means for next time, right?
Yep, we're probably going to get to the Despair event.
Yes, but the story will flesh out more and more as we get closer. We at least got a lot of the backstories for basically all of the characters.
Yeah, and by the way, the reason we date it from the Despair event was that was the only event that we actually knew around what time it happened. So we're dating everything else from that because there aren't dates for any of this.
Yeah, within the story anyway.
Yeah.
And that's how you're able to figure out when everyone was born, what year and whatnot. It's coming up, so please check in next time, and we'll find out what really happened with all these characters. Mm-hmm. And we'll keep going from there. We hope to make this one a series that keeps coming back because the story is going to get kind of interesting.
Yep.
Eventually, maybe next time we can get to the release of the first game.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, I'm Kyle.
I'm Kira.
And we have social media of Game Theorem, including our email, throughout the world of Danganronpa. We have ultimate Game Theorem email at gametheorems@gmail.com. That doesn't make any sense. Bye.
Bye.